You are participating right now in a webinar that is New Year, New You, and it is brought to you by the team at Career Reform. We are actually a division of a direct hire professional placement firm that has been in business since 1965, an organization that has represented growth-oriented companies and in a very, very different way from the growth organizations of today. So we stayed true to the mission of identifying impact performers, but obviously the clients that we serve then look very different than the clients that we service today. And because of that, we wanted to contribute our real-time knowledge in a very real-time way. And we found the best way by which to do that was by creating a new organization that is called Career Reform. And what the platform of it is really getting you to look at your future in a completely different way than you have in your past. Because if you can note by our logo that you own it, you build it, I can't tell you how important that thought process is to what our meeting time is going to consist of today. Because we find a real lack of understanding on the part of a candidate in coming to the recognition that they are responsible for building a skill set that is desired in the work world today. We've been pretty much conditioned to believe that it's up to the invisible hand of the economy, or it's up to our employer, or it's up to a variety of items that really is just not factual any longer. It's really up to us as people to identify what our natural skills are, what comes to us in terms of ingredients, what do we enjoy doing, and then how do we take all of that information and really demonstrate it throughout the life of a long and successful career path. So New Year, New You is really formatted around that thought process. We want you to look at yourself in a completely different way than you have in the past, which is why we're called Reform. I can't emphasize that enough. So as we're continuing to have dialogue about this important topic, I'd like to get into more about what reform means. And it's very true when we read Webster's definition, and it's very much true as it transcends into our career reform definition. And that is, Webster, to put an end by enforcing or introducing a better method or course of action. And at Career Reform, we have actually put together a course outline that we single-handedly can say that we have been responsible in putting thousands of people back to work with. So to put an end to the evil, aka the pain of job searching and career development by enforcing or introducing a better method, the 6-step career reform process, or course of action, taking ownership of your career through an empowered knowledge. Not only an empowered knowledge of employers, but we really hope that you walk away this evening with a more empowered knowledge of who you are as a person, because that's really where it begins. And then how does that knowledge transcend into an employer's mindset? So we're going to start to unlock some of those mysteries for you as we go through the course of that. So this is not going to be that atypical, job search tip, dress nice, speak politely type of format. This is really going to be sharing with you very specific information that we've been able to garner from our direct hire employment agency. The bulk of our employers interview right in our facility. So pretty much on a daily basis, we're able to get information that is not generally shared with the job-seeking population. So, things like you came in second to a position, items like we decided to hire internally, or we're not filling the job, in many instances is masked for the real reason why an organization decided not to move forward with your candidacy. So as we kind of get to how do we begin this new year, new you, or get in career shape, if you will, is we start with the most important muscle within this particular venue, and that's the brain, all right? In so many instances, people diminish the importance of their mindset and looking at their future. And I can only say to you, as a person who has studied the brain on both an informal basis and now going through a neuroscience coaching program myself, a formal basis, I have been amazed to better understand why some people have been so incredibly successful with my course and why other people have just not been able to identify with the new standards of the job search process. And what I find is it starts with that brain. So if I could kind of take you back to maybe that time when you were just entering school, or any point in your life where you had like this freedom and belief that you could do anything that you wanted to do, that is like an optimum mindset for us to be moving forward with. But it's really difficult to accomplish because now we're older and we're jaded, and we've been so conditioned to believe that there's so few good job opportunities out there that I'm going to ask you to kind of take a step back and really look at how do we change your thought process. Because what you have to understand is your brain is looking at threats constantly. It is constantly forcing you to look around you and to see what potential threats could harm your well-being. That is the single most important job that your brain has. So in having that position, what it does is when it sees something that's uncomfortable, it reacts in such a way that could be detrimental to you really looking at the job search process in a very thorough and well-grounded way. So your brain likes to know you're working. Your brain likes to know that you're getting a paycheck. Your brain loves to know what's coming around the corner. And when that's compromised, it puts you into a position that really uses, and I'm not going to get real scientific with you here today because we literally and will do just an hour on this subject matter, but what you're doing is you're using valuable blood resources in a part of your brain that really diminishes your capacity to look and think rationally. And what we're going to be talking about today really, really requires you to look and think rationally. So I'm hoping that you better understand that the emotions that you're feeling, the insecurity that you're feeling, the uncomfortability that you're feeling as you're embarking on this job search process is normal. Your brain is supporting you in that normal fashion. But what we have to do is we have to reformulate our thought process to really look at our future and our career goals in a brand new way. And instead of looking at it like a threat or something that really can affect your well-being, if you can start to tell yourself that this could be a really exciting time for you to get into great career health, that this could be a really exciting time for you to connect with an opportunity that you would have never thought about. It may be a really exciting time for you to look at your background and the skills you have in a brand new way. Because what I can share with you is that employers cannot find the appropriate talent that they need to fill positions. So their problem is finding good people. Your problem is finding a good career path. How do we marry those two in order to get them to effectively work together? So please know that these slides that you're looking at, Amanda would be more than happy to send this presentation over to you. Amanda, how are they best in contacting you so they know how to get a hold of this information?
We're actually going to have an info slide at the end with my email address on it, but the best way to email us is Joan, Joan, at Career Reform, which is all one word, CAREERREFORM.com. And you can email us and ask for the slide presentation. You can ask us any career questions that come up after the webinar. So we're here for you, and we're a resource on Facebook as well. So if you have a question, you can Facebook us.
Great. Thanks so much, Amanda. That's great information. So the truth of the matter is that we have many resources that we offer you to provide a holistic approach to this process that we're describing to you. Because as you look at this SCARF model, which was put together by a famed neuroscientist whose name is David Rock, you can see how you will do anything humanly possible to go away from something that makes you uncomfortable. And what I'm going to talk to you about during the rest of our hour together is why you're uncomfortable and how can we work past that to really focus on the areas that will make you stronger as you look at these different levels. But just understand, again, that it's normal. Uncertainty is normal. And if we could just start to call it something else like an opportunity and we start this positive self-talk, you can't imagine how impactful that can be on your brain and in moving you forward. We've seen it. We can give you example after example of it. And it's just so fascinating because the last group of people that actually went through our career reform process literally was working within a couple weeks of graduating from our course, but we had one lone holdout. And this woman was so ingrained, even though young, she was so ingrained to the traditional way that you look for a position. Wouldn't wrap her arms around this, couldn't wrap her arms around this because she was refused to change her thought process. So I can't emphasize enough how important you understanding this portion of it is. So let's look at our brain. Let's say, okay, this is exciting. Every time I have self-doubt, I'm going to talk myself through it. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do whatever I can to start to work on more of an optimum brain scenario. Even doing tasks that keep your mind busy takes you away from this flight or fight response. Any research that's out there on this, I strongly encourage you to engage in because it's just absolutely great information. So when we got and look at the uncertainty that you're feeling, I think what I always get the biggest chuckle about is the uncertainty that an employer is feeling, and candidates are shocked when I share that with them. There is like, employers are in the driver's seat, employers control our destiny, employers, they are literally the gods in most of the job search population. But the truth of the matter is that most people fail to realize that the bulk of the employers that we interview, from small to large, from low tech to high tech, say the single biggest impediment to them growing their company is finding talent. And it scares the absolute hell out of them. So the truth of the matter is, for as comfortable as the normal person is in interviewing or putting themselves out there, it's as uncomfortable for the employer to even start a job search process. So what we're seeing is a lot of people, a lot of companies are going underground, and there's this silent association that's being developed where there are so many positions that never make the job boards. They've gone to more of a referral type of basis through an employment agency, through a referral, through their employees and different incentive programs. the phenomenon of what's going on within that realm, it's just so interesting to me as I talk to employers and say, how did you find Jack? And why did you go in that method? It was basically because of what they were thinking and feeling. And that is, all right, I need to find the right people, not only with the tactical skills or the hard skills to perform my position. I'm also looking for those soft skills, those individuals who really thrive in a fast-paced, constantly charged, and changing business environment, who can take a self-directed approach. We get back to that ownership mentality that we discussed at the beginning, that if I give them the tools to be successful, can come in and impact my organization. So you have to ask yourself, you know, if employers are fearful, if employers are uncomfortable, I have to do a self-appraisal and say, am I representing myself in the right mindset, in the best way? Am I marketing myself in the most appropriate and efficient manner? And am I starting to connect with an employer in a way that's true and real? Or am I just really doing this because I think that's what they're looking for? Or I heard that's what they're looking for? Or I believe that's what they're looking for? Amanda and I see a lot of people that are so ingrained in, and they tell us all the time, oh, this is what an employer is thinking and feeling. This is what frustrates them. This is what drives them crazy. And we're always amazed because we learn something every day, and it's like,
Yeah, they always, I mean, people have a different interpretation of what others are thinking and feeling, especially when you're coming from that fear place and you're trying to guess what they're thinking and feeling. It really leads to a lot of confusion. So that's why it's so important to have an expert like Joan come in, interview employers every single day, and see what their thought process truly is. So.
And again, it puts the employers in a safe space too.
Right.
When we bring them in here, you know, I always like to tell the story about how fascinated I was when I had my radio show, because I thought it was going to be the type of forum by which employers would feel so good about spreading this knowledge through the airwaves, you know. And I was blown away about how hesitant they were to really share the truth. You know, it's not TV, it's radio, and God knows I was far from, you know, a major metropolitan radio person, but they were so uncomfortable with speaking the truth that it was like I had to change the name, I had to change the company, I had to do all these exercises in order to really say this is what drives a company crazy. So I think you have to understand that they're coming from a place that isn't as powerful as you would have guessed. And you just knowing that, it allows you then to read an advertisement in a completely different way than you have in the past, okay? Literally read what the words are saying, you know, fast-paced, constant change, impact performer, all those things that you kind of skim by. You know, you really need to be spending some quality time on, because what we find is that very, very few people alleviate an employer's fear with the answers. And Amanda did a really great job of just putting on this slide for you and saying, you know, these are really the most predominant questions that we see in the interview process. And 90% of the population answers these questions in a way that actually feeds into the uncomfortability of an employer instead of the comfortability of an employer, all right? So, you know, make sure that you're looking at all of these. And again, new you, new year, asking yourself, you know, am I really answering these questions in a way that connects with an employer? Am I really answering these questions in a way that shows that I even understand what they're thinking and feeling? Am I answering these questions in a way that shows I understand who I am as a person and what this whole process even is like all these different aspects of it, you know?
Right. When you can master what's behind these questions, so what influences their decisions, what problems they're experiencing, and then all this can be done through research. And it's not just going to Google. You can call someone, you can read the newspaper, the industry blogs. I mean, you really need to dig down deep before you make that contact with an employer, because the more you know, the more you can connect. And what she's saying about the truth and, you know, being truthful to an employer and the employer speaking the truth, that's really a real connection is made. It's when you know yourself, you're speaking your truth, and they're able to see that and connect with it.
You know, and I was just so fascinated because, you know, we have such an idea in our mind, again, as we've alluded to throughout this conversation. And I just saw a great article, and I didn't get to read it all, which disappointed me, but it was on Yahoo or one of the major, you know, intro pages of the web. And it was like how Google is doing unique things to hire. And it was like, Google? Google doesn't need to do unique things to hire. I mean, they're Google. All right? So there should be like all these people that are croaking to go and work for Google, but yet they are having such a difficult time in hiring. I'm speaking at one of the large school systems on Saturday at their career fair, and I'm doing an expose on Facebook, and there's 576 active positions on Facebook, all right? That doesn't include the ones that they don't have up there. That doesn't include up there the ones that they were just frustrated and couldn't fill. So again, we have to take the time to research and reflect and say, you know what, if we're going to build a business, if we're going to build a business of ourselves, all right, what type of business should we be in? And we should never be in a business we don't know anything about, all right? You know, I would love to be in that business. How many times do you go to something and you're like, oh my God, that business is so cool? For me, it was a bed and breakfast. Love bed and breakfast, right? Until every single owner I talked to said, oh, dear Jesus, never own a bed and breakfast. I am tired. I am cranky. I have gotten the crap beaten out of me. This is a 24/7 job. But what did I do? I looked at a pretty house with nice people. You get to meet all these different individuals. I have never met a person in a bed and breakfast who said, this is an incredibly hard work.
Right.
You know? But unless I talked to them and did the research and got a better understanding of what that life was like, you would never know. And I see what we do is we just go into occupations blindly. Number one, because it's easy. I have to go to and get my degree, and it's easy to get a degree in this, all right? I don't have to think for 4 more years. I don't have to think for 6 more years. Instead of really taking the time and saying, wait a minute, what am I good at? And how does that relate into a good business model of me? And how does it allow me to develop as a person so that I'm always wanted? I'm this pro athlete that people are looking for. And if my partner or an employer decides to sell or go out of business or whatever, I've built a sustainable business model that can be duplicated somewhere else. I can contribute somewhere else.
So let me see if I'm getting this correctly.
Okay.
You're saying specialization is the key to always being wanted by employers, right?
What I'm saying is that if you were going into business in the truest sense of the word, you would have to decide what type of business you would want to be in, even if it was a variety store, okay? You wouldn't be having all these other things in the variety store. It would just be a variety of things, all right? What I find with people is they have no idea what their specialty really is. They have no idea what they want as a specialty. They have no idea what a good specialty looks like. What are hot occupations, all right? What positions should I be looking at? What specialties should I be in? Because there's not a lot of connection through education or a variety of very important resources to say these are the hot jobs, all right? Every single person that I've met can build a business that's true to themselves and connect with a hot job. But you got to figure out what that is. Because don't build something that there's no one to buy your wares from.
And you're not just talking about the young kids that are coming out of school, right?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Amanda, I have seen this work from 16 to 61, all right? If you've got those good soft skills, if you've got that good energy, if you have a skill that's transferable, find out how you package it, find out how you market it, find out how you contribute it, all right? and then go after it, execute it. All right, make it happen. It's not going to happen you sitting on your couch. You know, taking this ownership mentality, looking at yourself, name your business. I mean, really go out there, name your business. If you could be, what would your business be? You know, what does it look like? You know, you look at Beyonce, and she's got an alter ego that she calls it Sasha, I think. All right? So what would you call this thing, and what would it look like, and what would it consist of? But make sure there's somebody there to purchase it. All right? Because anybody can be retuned. Anybody can be reformed. All right? But you have to make the steps with your mind to move in that direction.
So what do we need to change, Joan?
You need to really go from fear to confidence. And we hope through this knowledge of you starting to argue with yourself, you know, because you have to understand your brain's going to say, oh, my God, take anything. What do you mean?
Take the next job.
Take the next job. It doesn't matter if you're going to work for the Antichrist. All right? It doesn't matter that you're doing something that's never going to be a great business model. It doesn't matter that you're caught in this abyss. None of that matters. All right? Your brain will just say, take it. But if you now look and say, wow, this is a really great opportunity. There are millions of jobs right now that are going unfilled with a really great income potential. All right? So I know that. Now what I've got to figure out is how do I build the business of me to be able to connect with those type of positions. All right? So you need to really sit down and do a SWOT analysis. Okay? And I want to repeat that. That's SWOT. S-W-O-T. Have an honest conversation. Bring in your business consultant. This is a very schizophrenic exercise, all right? But look at your strengths. Have a really honest conversation about what your strengths are. Again, not what you think your strengths are, but are the strengths that you're listing about yourself, are they in job descriptions? Are people looking for those strengths? Are you diminishing some of your strengths because you think everybody has them, all right? Or, you know, what are your weaknesses? Well, you know what? I've stayed in an industry for a long period of time. I've been in a teaching capacity, and I'm not sure, you know, how to take these skills and move it into the next level. Whatever, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Spend some time with that. And then you can start to, in doing that, you can start to connect your history and where you'd like to be by setting goals and having a strategy in place. A strategy is not, I answered a monster ad. A strategy is not, I'm going to work for my cousin. A strategy is, I would love to be in a position like this, okay? How do I get there? How do I get there? All right? Amanda, do we have a question that you want me to address?
Yes, we do. There is a question from Martha. Martha actually brought up a situation, and I was wondering if I could unmute her for a minute so that she can ask you the question herself, because it's a lot of text, so I just want to have her briefly get into her question.
Okay, we'd love to hear it, Martha.
Hello?
Hi, Martha.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Okay, a lot of what you're saying really speaks to me, and because I worked for the same company for 11 years. We were acquired, we were shut down. You know, I advanced pretty quickly within that company, but it's all I've ever really known. And in the meantime, I didn't actually go ahead and get a degree, which was a bad decision on my part. But so I'm in school now, and I actually was in business, and then I changed it to community and human services, and I'm in an outplacement service right now, and they do really well, you know, in helping me get confidence, and I'm a pretty good communicator when it's all said and done. So I went for a job interview at a lower level, you know, thinking that I have to take a lower level job than I have, because a lot of times they want you to have that degree and everything. And when I was in there, the director actually, she liked me so much, my personality and how I answered the questions, that she actually wanted to move me forward for a manager position. So I met with the executive team, and I was really surprised by this because it's an industry I don't have experience with. I have no management experience, and I don't have a degree. And everything that I said was kind of a weakness, she dismissed because she liked my positive attributes so much. They're all really nice, and I'd really love to work there. And I'm kind of wondering, what do you think they're thinking about me? I really think, you know, I see myself as a risk, I guess, to them. And I'm thinking that maybe perhaps they'd want to go with an easier hire who looks good on paper that they don't need to do a lot of training with. But I think it says a lot that, you know, the person that would be my supervisor really is backing me and, you know, pushing me through to this point, because I even met with the owner and everything, and it was kind of like a dream. So,
yeah. Mark, this is just like a wonderful case study in itself, and I appreciate so much you having the courage to kind of bring this to the forefront, because I mean this just has so many different dynamics about it. You have to kind of go back to where we started in the beginning and look at that whole mind, because when you have stayed within the same company for a period of time, you got out of that organization with a mindset of that economy, all right, I never finished my degree, you know, all the things that were negative about yourself. What you have to understand is that is the place that your mind goes to first. And it goes there very, very organically, because negative thoughts actually take up more space in your brain than a positive thought does. So they really, really stay with you. So I might say to Amanda 5,000 times about the great work that she does. She's going to remember more than ever the times when we've strongly agreed to disagree. That's going to really, really make an impact on her, all right? So when she's put in a situation that puts her at all vulnerable, that's the part of your brain that gets pulled on, and it will start to tell you all these negative things. And what this employer did was exactly what I've been saying for the past 45 minutes, in that what she did is, it's tough to find good people who have 11 years experience. It's tough to find people who've been loyal to the same employer. It's tough to find people that can represent themselves after losing their position in such a good, positive way. And what I can say to you is, if you truly prescribe to being a business owner, what you have to understand is, we're not perfect. Jesus has got that job, all right, or whatever spiritual belief you have. We don't sit at the right hand of that Father. So the truth of the matter is, it seems like you're being incredibly hard on yourself, and you really haven't recognized all the great things that you have to offer, while it's very, very apparent to the other people. So how do you handle this? You're getting exactly what you deserve, all right? And you're diminishing the fact that you're getting exactly what you deserve, because you're looking and saying, look at how kind they're being to me, when the truth of the matter is, this is really a great partnership, because you have something to contribute to them. So my best advice to you would be is to really think about yourself in a different way. This new year, new you is very appropriate. And saying, you know, wait a minute, granted I didn't get my degree, but you know what, after 11 years, these are the skills I did get. And after 11 years, this is what I did take away. And after 11 years, this is how I did impact the company. You shouldn't have to have somebody else recognize that, all right? You never go into a business and the consumer says, oh my God, you're such a great business, and the owner says, oh, I had no idea. I had no idea I was a great business. You have to project with your own type of self-confidence and give yourself credit for the good work that you've done. Would you change and rerun your business for the future a little differently? Probably, but that's something you can change in the future. Don't get comfortable again. Don't make the mistake of not enhancing and diversifying your experience level. Don't get to what we call that status quo ever. None of us get to maintain a status quo. But first and foremost, look at this process differently, and I'm telling you, you will absolutely see different results. So thank you so much for that question, and that was just fabulous. So if you go through this process, you guys, and it's very apparent, look at this like an objective bystander. Look at this through somebody else's eyes. Hand your resume to somebody who you might not know that well and respect and say, what do you see? Can you kind of walk through this with me? How would you interpret this information? What do you think I need and have to work on? Because there's that strategy of what you need to do. So for you to have the opportunity to move into a different business model, oh, does that round out your background? That is just pivotal. It's a great opportunity for you to add to your toolbox. Add to your toolbox. So few people do that. They just keep making the donuts. Same job, same job, same job, and they don't understand why they're not getting different results. So you have to ask yourself, are there really no good jobs? Or am I just looking for jobs that are rare or no longer exist? What I find in most instances is that people have no idea about the scope of positions, so they try to, again, from a brain standpoint, go to what they know, all right? So the truth of the matter is that there's a lot above and beyond what it is you've been doing in your own little world. You know, a customer service person could be applied in any industry known to man. A teacher could be a trainer. They could be in human resources. They could be in education. They could be in some type of administrative support. That ability to understand how to communicate and train others is pivotal in so many different arenas. So again, you need to spend the time looking and seeing. What's great about when you go to Indeed.com is that if you put in just a keyword, it will show you in the right-hand corner how many positions are in that particular area. That gives you a good sense of what the marketplace looks like versus people, you know, getting degrees in history or whatever the case may be, and now realizing that that was great because they loved Abraham Lincoln, but not so great to find a position. So be an educated consumer. Before you get educated, before you do anything along those lines, make sure the experience and education that you're getting is relatable to this new normal economy. That's very, very important. So, am I in a dying industry or in a role that no longer may be a service to today's work world? Again, if you're putting in a keyword term and positions are not coming up, that signifies you need to start moving in another direction. Do not wait 2 years thinking that it's going to come back. I can't tell you how many people have done that. People from the automotive industry, they are literally building cars with like 50% less people that they did, you know, 20 years ago. So even though that might be a great industry, the fact of the matter is they don't need as many people to run it. That's what technology has done for us. So you have to make sure that you're building the right type of business model. Ask yourself, as you're looking for positions and you're reading the job descriptions, what don't you have? What are the skills that you are missing? Do an Excel spreadsheet. Highlight those. Can you get free training in those areas? Are you part of the unemployment one-stop? All right. Can you get training money so that an employer can train you on the job? I can't even tell you how many employers are unaware of training money and how many people we have gotten jobs because of training money. All right. So these are all things as the owner of your business that you got to be seeking out and seeing how, you know, it really pertains to getting you into a position that helps you be a better you. Not the same you, a better you. Did you have a question, Amanda?
I just wanted to actually just ask you guys if you had any questions. You can send them straight to me. We're at about the halfway point here with our presentation, and just feel free to raise your hand, and Joan will continue on.
Yeah, I think we're a little further, though, you guys, than halfway. I think we're about 3/4, so just, you know, FYI, you know, as we're going through, like I said, you know, whether it's part of this or part of something else, don't hesitate. So what does my future employer look like? Do I possess the skills and experience that today's employers are demanding? It's that specialization that Amanda referred to earlier. Are you in a demand area? Are employers looking for this particular skill set? The one thing that the Department of Labor has done that's a wonderful resource is called a career cluster. And if you just Google career clusters, it will show you for the foreseeable future the segments of industries that have explosive growth associated with them. I think they even take it to the extent where they break it down geographically, so you can kind of get a better sense of what portions of the country desire these particular skill levels. So, you know, I career coached a young woman who had a degree in Mandarin, which was a fabulous specialty. She wanted to live in Buffalo. Well, if you're going to get a degree in Mandarin from a fabulous school and have $120,000 in student loans, I'm going to just go out there and say you're probably going to want to live in a major metropolitan city. New York, Washington, you know, even international. But for her to get such a great specialization, to have her kind of working at a coffee shop, that's not a good strategy. So just make sure that even if you're picking a good discipline, if there's no jobs in your hometown, where can you strategically go to get the experience? Use it as a boot camp, and you can always go back to your hometown. But it's better to get your master's degree figuratively in more of a position starting you on the career road than it is for you to take a lower level position just to stay in your hometown. So again, new you, new thoughts, it's all part of what we're talking about here. How can I put
my career path and job search in an offensive versus defensive position?
Okay. So what we're talking about when we say that is running a good business. I mean, that's really just a reiteration of what we've already spoken about here. How you can be offensive is do a good job running your business. Again, I know I've said this, but it bears repeating. I can't tell you how many people have said to me, my boss is an idiot, it was somebody else's fault, I didn't want to go there, I hated the work I was doing. They pointed to a variety of different people instead of looking in the mirror. I don't care if you go to physician health. If it is part of a strategy that helps you get skills to get to that ideal position, suck it up. I have a family member who is in an awkward position with a boss who barely goes to work. What I've taught her through a brain type of standpoint is use this woman as a poster child of what you don't want to be as a manager. Use her, all right? The next week, she sent me an article about the president of one of the national universities. Well, they're not national, but a very prestigious university. And this woman had gone on to write this article about how her worst boss was an inspiration to her being in this position. Because just what I told my family member was written in this article. It was seriously like I wrote this article. It was so freaky. So the truth of the matter is as long as the physician gives you ingredients or tools that you're seeing is what you're missing in a future job, just suck it up for 12 to 24 months because that person's going to burn out anyways. I just found out today about a person who lost his position, that this has been months in coming, what, six-figure, close to $300,000 person. These things catch up with people that are inept. Run a good business. Keep a good reputation. Don't gossip. Come in early. Stay late. Be an impact performer. Don't think it's for anybody else but you. You will get a reputation, and I'm telling you, it will be a good one, and people will seek you out. Stop thinking it's for anybody but yourself because it's just not relative in this economy. So create a personal mission statement supporting your career strategy. So if your short-term goal is to use your education in a new way, sit down and figure out what might that look like. How can I make this transition? How does this position that I'm looking at make this transition? Because Amanda said earlier, an employer is going to ask you why. What was your motivation? What were you thinking? What they're really asking you is, how well do you run the business of you? All right? How much thought have you given into this? All right? To take a job doesn't make sense to an employer. They don't like that thought process. They are looking for people that have well thought out strategies. That's very, very important. So get out there and experiment. Don't hesitate to find out and talk to people and see what's going to work for you, all right? Finding what your identified buyer might look like, all right? A strong brand and solid reputation. A consistent and visible marketing message that speaks to today's employers. I cannot even begin to tell you how many people represent themselves like they're 100 people, all right? Their resume is different than their LinkedIn, is different than their Facebook, is different than their cover letter, is different than their telephone interview. I mean, it's like, what product are you marketing here? You have got to have a consistent message. That is so important. So you have to make sure when you are doing your SWOT analysis that you're looking at how you're representing the business of you and saying, wow, does this look great? Or do I look like a third-rate citizen? That is absolutely pivotal. An ability to evolve as the market makes changes. Look at, people say to me, you know what, Joan, all I want is stability. And what I say to them is, that's great. It's just not realistic. The stability has to come from yourself. It has to come from within, all right? It is up to you as the CEO, as the CFO, as the president, as the marketing manager, as every single title in the business of you, that you are doing a good job to make sure that you stay in business. Whether your partner goes out of business or they don't, how can you stay in business? And it's building a good product. Because if you have done a good job for employer A, I can assure you that you can do a good job for employer B. And they'll recognize you for it, and they'll want you to be part and parcel of it. So, and Amanda's raised her hand. So we got to stop for a minute here, you guys, and answer a question.
Okay, Christopher wanted to know, will this session be able to be available for download? And the answer to the question is yes. We're recording this, so fingers crossed everything goes well. We'll have that recording on our website for access, so you can actually listen to this again if you liked it that much. And then also we have our slides that will also be available. If you email us, we'll be happy to send those out to you.
Well, you've got to know, because I've got to bust your chops here, because Amanda is such a perfectionist. It's ridiculous, okay? So she has wanted these webinars to go, absolutely positively perfect. And needless to say, we've had our technology challenges. So the reality of it is it's all part and parcel of moving and going through our mission. So that's why we very, very much appreciate, you going to our Facebook page and commenting on this. We are, certainly providing, our off time in meeting with you this evening. And we'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to take your likes. Link in with you, feel free to invite us, make a recommendation. We'd be happy to help you in any way that we can, whether it be through our direct hire employment agency or career reform. Between one, the other, both, we have the services. I can't tell you how many people come to me and say, am I ready for APA? And they're frustrated when they're not. But you can't believe how going through our career reform process prepares you for APA and how helpful we can be in that direct hire employment.
Right. And we do have another question from an audience member. This one's from Lisa. You actually know Lisa. Hi, Lisa. What is Joan's best advice for developing a valuable LinkedIn profile for someone who is unemployed?
Okay. So, Amanda, I'm gonna give you, because you have definitely done some great work on a LinkedIn profile. So before I respond to that, I want to kind of hear you out on this.
I think what's important, and that's why webinar on like this topic that we're doing right now, New Year, New You, talking about the mission statement is so important because we really think that, you know, LinkedIn, you have to be on it. First and foremost, employers are checking. That's one of the first things they do when they read your resume is they check your LinkedIn profile because they want to see a picture of you. They want to see that you're engaged, and they want to understand you as an expert in your field, as a specialist, and what you do. So I would say really identifying that objective is truly important. You know, build that great resume and then go and do that LinkedIn profile, and it should really be a representation of your brand. So knowing, you know, what makes you stand out, what makes you special, and featuring that. You can also do regular updates via LinkedIn and start creating your own trail of being an expert. So even if you're not an expert in something and you want to, you know, be an expert on, you know, being an executive assistant and what good executive assistants do, it doesn't really matter the field. Then you're posting, you know, I read this from the New York Times, or I just found this great article, or, you know, just asserting yourself in that way is really going to get you noticed. Also, those underground job postings, a lot of them are on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn has its own job boards, and you can actually connect to people. But the main part of that profile, to answer your question, is making sure that you have everything filled in and that it makes sense as a brand.
Yeah, and that's great advice, Amanda. Thank you. But I want to kind of piggyback off of that to be able to say that LinkedIn is a very, very powerful tool. And in being such a powerful tool, we are seeing that there's a lot of recruiting that's going on. I know from our standpoint that that's a great resource. So you need to be, number one, let's go back to thinking about the research. Go back to what you've learned by going through the research process. And if you're seeing that employers are very attracted to words like change agent, multitasker, positive soft skills, whatever that spreadsheet that you've devised by doing your research is suggesting, have represented truthfully in your LinkedIn page, all right? Have a picture. Nobody wants to see that blank thing there. They want to see your picture, all right? Have people recommend you. Treat this job search as a positive thing. So again, when we're talking about opening up the brain to new ideas, and you're saying, well, you know what, I'm unemployed. You know what, you're just seeking a new opportunity. So versus looking at yourself as unemployed, can we somehow, again, turn this into, dynamic assistant who helps a president grow business, seeks new challenge? Could we be representing ourselves in that way? Because then all of a sudden that unemployed takes on a whole new meaning and provides an opportunity for an employer to capitalize on somebody out there in grade. Don't feel bad about being unemployed. If you've made a mistake, which God knows I've made plenty as a business owner of this company and continue to do so, just look at those when you're doing your SWOT analysis and make the determination that, all right, this is where my deficiencies are. This is where I need help, and this is what I'm going to fill in. But don't think because somebody decided to lay you off or a company closed or this happened that somehow, you've been brought out into this, Iraq, and now you're left out here with, all these missiles. I mean, the truth of the matter is in my last group of people that were outsourced from one of my clients, it's a wonderful company, I had 9 people. The company was fabulous. The candidates were devastated, car crash. And what we found out within a very, very short period of time is that every single person had decided that they hadn't liked the new owner literally about 3 years before, that they were just staying there because it was secure, it was what they had known. But as I took them through the career reform process, what they recognized was, oh my gosh, there's a whole world out there. Not one of those people that I work for in Outplacement, and they are all back at work, chose to stay in a position that was remotely close to what they had done. Remotely close to what they had done. But when I tell you, if I would have showed you those people in the beginning, where they were, I just ran into a gentleman at Wegmans, little goatee, hair all mussed up. I'm like, oh my God, who are you? Who are you? He was a completely new man who had moved in a completely new direction, and he was revived. You got to dare to dream, you guys. You got to dare to dream. You've got to think big. This is not just about getting a new position. This is career reform. It's looking at the business of you and all those beautiful shades of blue and saying, how could this be me? And we have the resources in place that if there's any part of this that, you know, you're having difficulty with or whatever the case may be, don't hesitate to let us know. Career Reform does a great job of letting you know about the variety of services that we offer, but you have to make sure that you are demonstrating your hard skills and experience in the best way possible. Your soft skills and personality. How your past behaviors dictate your new strategy or your new you. Do you have that ability to connect who you are with solving their problems? I can't tell you how many people come into APA and want to give me problems. I don't need anybody to give me problems. I got plenty. All right. I need people to come in who can solve problems, who can understand my vision and mission and want to be part of helping me take it to the next line. So make sure that as you're looking at your brand and online presence, that you have had the opportunity to represent yourself in every way possible so that it's cohesive, all right? So your brand and online presence should be represented in all of these different ways, not just a posting on Monster. And getting back to LinkedIn for a moment, poor Amanda, one of my outplacement person, I mean, basically it said, well, they canned my ass on his LinkedIn. Amanda saw the LinkedIn, almost had a heart attack, came running into my office. Now, that is not something that we want to publicly put on LinkedIn. Yeah. But he was so mad, he was so frustrated that he decided that he was somehow going to get back at the company that separated from him. No. When the going gets tough, you need to rise your business to the occasion. Do not go down into the gutter. So,
and when he removed that, what did he get a job within the next week or so?
I mean, he got so many LinkedIn calls after that, it was ridiculous. Yeah, he ended up having 2 offers and had to decide. But, yeah, we were just, like, mortified. And then he was defensive when we called him on it. We're like, really? Really? This is how you want people to know you? Think about going into a store and it says, you know, this store sucks. I mean, you wouldn't be. It was like that restaurant that was called Roadkill. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many people remember that, but it was in Albany, and you used to drive on the thruway and you saw the billboard for Roadkill. And I'd be like, you know, sign me the freak up for that restaurant. Yeah. Really? So they were out of business within a short period of time.
Of course.
Because although that seemed like a cute title at the time, people could just not connect to Roadkill and what that all meant. So please, in your interview preparation, we have given you the baseline and the infrastructure to know your story, all right? Who are you as a person? You know, where do you want to go? And now, how does that relate to what you need to do to prepare for the employers, all right? Researching them. Practice your story and introduction to them in a, you know, pseudo type of way. Prepare for the common questions that Amanda had mentioned to you. And we have a toolkit, you guys, that has the most common questions on our website on career reform and the reason why they ask the questions and the responses to the questions. It all goes back to that employer mentality. What is it that they're thinking? What is it that they're feeling? Did you have a question, Amanda?
Yeah, we do have time for one more quick question. We're hitting the 7 o'clock mark here, and we don't want to keep you guys too much longer. We do have a few more great slides and a lot of good information left. We're going to try and do it really quick, but as one of our final questions here, will Joan have time to talk about how to address an initial offer from an organization, and if employed, if it's worth negotiating? Okay. That's a great question.
It is a great question, but see, again, there's that whole thing that because I'm unemployed, I'm unemployed, I'm not worthy. You know what I mean? So you have to understand where you fit in the food chain. And I would say that if you're taking a position that makes you a better you have to consider that, all right? I always tell the story of, a BMW and how I wanted desperately to buy that car, but I had to spend $30,000 on a software package. I really wanted a BMW. But for my business, I needed the software package because I wanted to grow. What does this give you? In not the classic educational sense, but what does this employer give you that's going to help you become a better you? Because that's a good strategy. But a good way to ask somebody that question is, can I better understand the parameters for the position? Because most companies that you speak to already have the dollars figured out. It's a grade level, or they have a range, or they have some sense of where it is, all right? You can always state where you were in your last position. But if it's over the grade level, make sure, because we're talking about a fearful bunch here, make sure you share with them that you are prepared to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. You're prepared to put in the sweat equity because of the company's growth. You have to give them a response in a way that they can connect with and feel comfortable with, okay? So from that standpoint, what I would definitely say to you is don't diminish the worth of you just because no one's paying you right now, all right? You have to base it more on how does this job fit into your strategy? Does it make you a better you? Are they going to be giving you skills that you didn't have to help you get to the next level? But don't undersell yourself. I see it all the time. I had a controller who was asking for $15,000 less. He hadn't been on one interview. But in his mind's eye, he had to take $15,000 less because of the economy. Not for a controller, not for the skills that this guy had, but you get so bogged down in the preconceived notions. Whether you're employed or unemployed, your business is worth something, all right? Do a salary.com analysis. Get a feel for what they're talking about pay-wise. But they should not offer you less money because you're unemployed. And if they do, you can certainly negotiate and meet them in the middle. Let's just say, I'm just using easy numbers. 10 and 20, and they offer you 10 and you want a 20, meet them in the middle at 15. Or look about a short-term review. Ask them, if you take less money, could you be reviewed earlier than an annual basis? There's many, many different ways that you can certainly get around that. So we have a bunch of offers that we're going to be extending to the people who were involved on this call. You guys, sincerely, this career appraisal at $98, if you have any doubt about who you are as a person and what your short-term and long-term strategy should be, I am telling you right now, that appraisal and an hour of coaching to help you better understand the business of you, taking out all the emotion, putting science into play, it is absolutely, I can't even tell you how many people have come to me and say, literally, this is not a bad, timeshare line. That information saved my life, all right? And putting my branding campaign together and putting my job search together and looking at my career, everything. And the online course, I'm going to tell you that is 50% off what we're getting for that online course, all right? We have a special offer because we had an organization, our software people who contributed because they want to monitor the success of the people online. That course is $495 every day. And I am telling you right now, resumes, your career appraisal, how to interview, what to do, what not to do. Having Amanda as a fabulous resource to be answering questions for you. We're right here in Buffalo, New York. I can't even say with the way that I see people spend money, no offense on a Sabres game, that people aren't running to invest in that for the limited time that we're offering that.
Right, and it's available if you do get the DISC career appraisal. You can either come join us here in Buffalo, New York, or you can do it via GoToWebinar or Skype. So we have a lot of different options. You can also do it over the phone traditionally as well. So don't feel like you're too far. We're happy to connect with you in any way. And then as far as connection, we just because we spent an hour here with you guys and given you a bunch of free advice, we'd love to have you be our Facebook friend and like us on Facebook. We give free updates every day and good advice every day and funny videos and the whole shebang. So if you could like us on Facebook, connect with Joan on LinkedIn. She's got a lot of LinkedIn connections. Or check us out via the web at careerform.com.
Yeah, you guys, I mean, this new you, new year, I mean, it takes exercise, all right? It's going to be uncomfortable. Oh, my God, are you going to be sore, all right? You're going to be like, this is just like way too much work. You know, why can't I just be freaking skinny? Why is it so easy for me to gain and so hard for me to lose? I am telling you, it is the same thought process. It's going to be tough work, but I am telling you, if you embrace this thought process and you do not take it like I'm looking for a new position, and it's more about I am going to build the best darn business of me possible, literally, you will never be looking for a position because you will love what you do to such an extent, finding your passion, moving that to the next level. You know, you hear this finding passion all the time. Not so easy, although everybody tells you to do it. It's like, where the hell is my passion? All right? This provides you all the opportunities to better understand that, make a small investment in yourself as a person, and move it to that next level. We couldn't be prouder of what we've done in these past 10 years of analysis, and we'd love to be part of helping you. But we're glad that we've been able to spend this evening, and we sincerely hope that we've been able to help you look at your future in a different way than you have, because I'll tell you, 2020, Peter Drucker, the foremost authority on business, says everybody needs to be an independent contractor by 2020. And what he's saying is you better have figured out your specialty because there's only going to be jobs for the skilled. That's it. None of this generalist, none of this, I have a history degree, basket weaving, all these other things. You need to have a plan.
Well,
all right.
Thank you to Joan for being here and for being our
You're
host,
welcome.
and thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Feel free to write us a review on Facebook if you liked what you heard today, and we have plenty of webinars coming your way. Thursday's been a good day for us, so keep your schedule open, and we'll see you soon.
That sounds great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.